By all means measurable, the Latin alphabet is the most widely used writing system in the world. The languages that use it are spoken by over 4 billion people and are official in a majority of the world's nations. But which writing system is in second place? Which one is the second most widely used writing system in the world? There are 4 candidates that come to mind, those being the Cyrillic script, the Arabic script, sometimes called the Perso-Arabic script, Devanagari, and Chinese characters, also called Hanzi or Kanji. And there are 3 main ways to measure this: the number of languages it's used for, the amount of speakers those languages have, and the number of countries the writing system is used in. And each metric can give different answers. Let's start with countries, since those are much easier to keep track of than languages. The clear loser in this category is Devanagari, which is only official in India through Hindi, Marathi, and a few others, and Nepal where Nepali is official. Fiji also somewhat counts, as Fiji Hindi is an official language there, and can variously be written with Devanagari. In third place is Chinese characters, official in China and Singapore with Mandarin Chinese, and Japan where it's used with Japanese. You can also count Malaysia, where Chinese isn't official but there is a notable speaking community, and South Korea, where it's occasionally used beside Hangul to distinguish Korean words. Cyrillic is official in a decent number of countries: Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Bulgaria, North Macedonia, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. It can also be used to write Serbo-Croatian, in the forms of Serbian, Bosnian, and Montenegrin, which are official in Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Kosovo if you want to count it as a country. Although the Latin alphabet is used more often in these areas, from what I gather, it's still official, and that's what matters for this category. Speaking of the Latin alphabet, Kazakhstan is transitioning from using Cyrillic in favor of it, and Mongolia is also switching to its indigenous script. But the transitions haven't been completed yet, so they still count in my eyes. Latin is also the sole official writing system in Uzbekistan, although Uzbek was previously written with Cyrillic. And by previously written, I mean it's still used more often than the Latin alphabet. But the clear victor in this category is Arabic, which is official in Afghanistan, Algeria, Bahrain, Brunei, Chad, Comoros, Djibouti, Egypt, Eritrea, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Mauritania, Morocco, Oman, Pakistan, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. And on top of all of those, it even has marginal status in India, China, Tajikistan, Tanzania, and Malaysia. Now on to language counts. Oh boy. Naturally, counting languages in general is hard. You have to consider whether a way of speaking is a language or a dialect. There are plenty of languages spoken by few people that are easy to overlook, and there's a lot of languages in total? And it gets much messier when you throw writing systems into the mix. Many languages aren't written using just one script, and the writing system they do use can change over time and depending on the country or region, often with political ramifications for certain scripts. My subpar solution to this is to separately count the amount of languages that clearly primarily use one script, at least in one area, and languages that use a script only marginally. I was gonna use Ethnologue as a source for language counting, but I am not going to pay $200 for a 1-month subscription to access it. This forces me to pull out my secret weapon, using Wikipedia and then dealing with the imposter syndrome that comes along with it. Also, I'm counting all living languages, not any that are extinct. After going through the Wikipedia pages for hundreds of different languages and making surface-level judgments, I've come to the conclusion that Chinese characters are in dead last for this category. This is counting all dialect groups of Chinese and Korean, which as stated previously only uses them sometimes. There's also a system called Thaodip used to write the Zhuang languages, as well as the related Boye and Thai language, which is based off of Hanzi, using many of them in addition to creating new characters to represent Zhuang words with the same principles that Chinese characters use. The Ryukyuan languages also use kanji to write down some words, in addition to Japanese kana. Still, at around 30 different languages, Chinese characters are far behind the others as we're about to see. But before I share the results, I want to go over some specific examples to give a sense of what we're dealing with. Take Central Asia, the Stan countries if you will. The Turkic languages of this area, and also Tajik, used to be written with the Arabic script, as the population was and still is majority Muslim. Most of this area then came under the control of the Russian Empire and later the Soviet Union. And during the 1920s and 1930s, there was a movement to get many languages of the USSR to use the Latin alphabet. Then in the 1940s, virtually every language in the Union started using Cyrillic instead. And this was the general process for Uzbek, Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Tajik, Turkmen, and Azerbaijani. Then after all their corresponding Soviet republics gained independence, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan officially switched to using the Latin alphabets for their languages. And as I mentioned, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan are undergoing incomplete transitions to Latin, while Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan stick with Cyrillic. Then you have speakers of these languages in Iran, Afghanistan, and China, where they've kept using the Arabic script throughout all of this. And then we have Devanagari, which I'm gonna say outright, had the highest number of languages that I counted at least partially using. That being said, when we exclude those languages that only partially use it, it's beaten out by both Cyrillic and Arabic. This is because while India is very linguistically diverse, it also has many unique writing systems used across the country, and instead of every minor language defaulting to Devanagari, they usually default to the script of their major language in the area. Minor languages usually use the Odia script in Odisha, the Gujarati script in Gujarat, the Telugu script in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, and so on. Plenty of languages are also spoken in multiple Indian states, using different writing systems depending on the de facto language of that state. There's also languages that can use either the Arabic script or Devanagari, depending on which side of the India-Pakistan border they are. Plenty of languages in the north that can and/or primarily use the Tibetan script, not to mention all the smaller languages with their own indigenous scripts, whether created millennia ago or only recently. And for all of these scripts, there's also the need to take into account the languages that just aren't written down that much, likely because their speaking community is mostly illiterate, or they just write a major language instead. At the end of it all, Devanagari comes first if we count languages that only partially use the script, Cyrillic comes in first if we don't, and Arabic is in second place either way. I don't feel comfortable declaring a definitive winner in this category, especially since my count can and should be taken with a grain of salt. Now on to the amount of people who use each writing system. Let's see. Oh no. I just counted over 300 different languages, and I need to look up the number of speakers for all of them. And that's not even taking into account all the languages which I just mentioned use multiple writing systems depending on the location of the speakers. Not to mention all those outdated figures, and that's not even factoring in literacy rates. Oh wow, I magically found a list that contains the number of users of each of these 4 writing systems I've been talking about. As you can see, Chinese characters are in the lead at around 1.5 billion users, followed by the Arabic script at around 800 million, Devanagari with a little less than 500 million, and Cyrillic at just under 300 million. Essentially, China has such a high population that by virtue of almost everyone in the country using Chinese characters, it's enough to outnumber all the others. Besides the Latin alphabet, of course. India also has a very high population, but because there are just so many different writing systems there, Devanagari can't challenge it. The number of Muslims worldwide is comparable to the number of Chinese character users though, and if the languages of Indonesia and Sub-Saharan Africa used the scripts as they formerly had, there might have been a more even playing ground. And those are the potential answers to the question, what is the second most widely used writing system? Of course, the answer depends on what you think is the most important metric, whether you prefer how many languages use it, or how many people total use the writing system. Thank you to all my patrons, Sunder, Foroist, Krog, Erika Sim, and to everyone else, goodbye!